Are you sure this is the right place? I asked, gripping the steering wheel tightly as I peered through the windshield. The sun was dipping below the horizon, casting long shadows over the quaint, picturesque hotel. Positive, replied Mark, my best friend and confidant. You've been tracking her texts and emails for weeks. This is where she's been coming every weekend. I swallowed hard, trying to calm the storm raging inside me. For weeks, I had suspected something was amiss, but the evidence had been so cleverly hidden, I could barely catch my breath before the next piece of information was revealed. The hotel's website had a romantic air, promising cozy fireside chats and tranquil moments, a stark contrast to the turmoil I felt now. What if she sees us? I asked, my voice trembling slightly. Mark's gaze was steady. She won't. Trust me, I've scoped this out thoroughly. We'll be in and out before she has a chance to react. With a deep breath, I pushed open the car door. The cool evening air hit my face, offering a brief respite from the heat of my anger. We walked towards the entrance, Mark's reassuring presence beside me. Each step felt heavier than the last. As we reached the front desk, I plastered on a neutral expression. Hi, I'm looking for my wife. She's staying here under the name Emily Thompson. The receptionist's smile faltered for a moment before she recovered. I'm sorry, sir, but I can't disclose any information about our guests. I leaned in slightly, trying to remain calm. Please, it's urgent. I need to speak with her. The receptionist hesitated, then nodded. Let me call her room. Mark stood beside me, his eyes scanning the lobby. I tried to focus on the receptionist's voice as she spoke to Emily, but my mind was elsewhere, racing through the scenarios that could unfold. She's in room 306, the receptionist finally said, her voice low. But I should warn you, she might not react well to this. Thank you, I replied, trying to muster a polite smile despite the turmoil inside. Mark and I made our way to the elevator. As the doors slid open on the third floor, my heart pounded louder with each step. I glanced at Mark, who gave me a reassuring nod. We walked down the hallway, stopping in front of room 306. I took a deep breath and knocked. There was a pause, then a rustling from inside. The door creaked open, and Emily's face appeared, eyes wide with shock. Her expression shifted rapidly from surprise to fear as she took in the sight of me standing there. What are you doing here? She asked, her voice a mix of surprise and defensiveness. We need to talk, I said, my voice steady despite the storm inside. I know what's been going on, Emily. She glanced behind her, clearly contemplating whether to let me in or slam the door. After a tense moment, she stepped aside, allowing us to enter. The room was decorated with soft, romantic touches, designed to create an intimate atmosphere. The contrast between the setting and the emotions in the room was stark. I spotted a bottle of wine chilling in an ice bucket, and my anger flared. What's going on, Jason? Emily demanded, her voice a sharp edge. Don't play dumb, I said, my voice rising. I've seen the messages, the calls. I know you've been coming here every weekend. It's all over. Emily's face flushed with a mix of embarrassment and anger. You don't understand. I understand more than you think, I interrupted, reaching into my jacket pocket and pulling out a manila envelope. I'm here to deliver something to you. Her eyes widened as she saw the envelope. What's that? It's your divorce papers, I said flatly, holding the envelope out towards her. I couldn't stand by any longer while you continued this charade. Emily's face went pale as she took the envelope from me. You're really doing this here? I wanted to make sure you couldn't avoid it, I said. I wanted you to face it, and not hide behind some excuse. She opened the envelope with trembling hands and began to read. Her eyes darted back and forth across the document, her expression shifting from shock to denial, and then to a kind of resigned acceptance. Jason, she said finally, her voice breaking. Can't we talk about this? Can't we work it out? I've tried, Emily, I said. I've tried to understand, to give you space. But this is beyond repair. The silence that followed was heavy. Mark stood by the door, giving us space but remaining ready to intervene if necessary. Emily's eyes filled with tears as she looked up at me, but I could see that the weight of her actions had finally sunk in. I never meant for things to end like this, she said softly. I didn't think. Maybe you didn't think at all, I replied. Maybe you thought you could have everything without considering the consequences. Emily nodded, tears streaming down her face. I'm sorry. I didn't know how to fix it. I was lost. I took a deep breath, trying to maintain my composure. It's too late for apologies now. The papers are there. You need to sign them. As she picked up the pen, Mark cleared his throat. We'll give you some privacy. With that, he stepped out into the hallway, leaving Emily and me alone in the room. The atmosphere was heavy with unspoken words and unresolved emotions. Emily's sobs filled the silence as she signed the papers, each stroke of the pen marking the end of our marriage. When she finally finished, she looked up at me with a mixture of defeat and sorrow. "Is there anything else you want to say?" I shook my head. "No. It's over, Emily." With that, I turned and walked out of the room, my heart heavy with a sense of finality. The world outside seemed colder and more distant as I headed back to the car, leaving behind the remnants of a relationship that had once meant everything to me. I didn't say much on the drive back home. Mark, sensing my need for silence, respected it and kept the radio off. The cool night air through the open window felt oddly comforting against the hot anger still simmering inside me. "So, what now?" Mark finally broke the silence as we pulled up to my house. I stared at the front door, feeling a pang of sadness for what had been lost. "I don't know. I think I just need to be alone for a while." Mark nodded. "You've been through a lot today. Just remember, you're not alone. I'm here if you need anything." "Thanks, Mark," I said, forcing a small smile. "I appreciate it." We unloaded the car, and as I watched Mark drive away, I felt an overwhelming sense of emptiness. The house, once filled with laughter and shared memories, now felt like a shell of what it used to be. I closed the door behind me, the sound echoing through the quiet house. I wandered through the rooms, each one a reminder of the life Emily and I had built together. The living room, where we'd spent countless evenings on the couch, watching movies and planning our future. The kitchen, where we'd cooked dinners together, laughing over spilled sauce and burnt dinners. The bedroom, where we'd shared our most intimate moments. I finally settled in the living room, collapsing onto the couch. The divorce papers lay on the coffee table, a stark reminder of the reality I was facing. I reached for the papers, flipping through them, the words blurring together. The legal jargon seemed meaningless compared to the emotional weight of what they represented. As I sat there, lost in thought, my phone buzzed. I glanced at the screen to see a text from Emily. "Jason, can we talk? I know we need to sort things out, but I'm struggling with this. Please." I stared at the message, feeling a pang of guilt mixed with my anger. I had to remind myself why I'd taken this step. Emily had betrayed me, and as much as I wanted to understand her perspective, the betrayal was a wound that couldn't be easily healed. I typed back a quick response. "It's over, Emily. The decision is made. I need space." As I set my phone down, the reality of my new life began to sink in. I had to figure out what came next. The future, once so uncertain, was now open with possibilities. But the pain of losing Emily, the woman I thought I'd spend the rest of my life with, was still fresh. The following days were a blur of paperwork and legal consultations. I had to make arrangements for dividing our assets and dealing with the aftermath of the divorce. It was overwhelming, but I focused on each task, one step at a time. The first major hurdle was going through our shared belongings. I had to make decisions about what to keep, what to donate, and what to sell. It was a painful process, each item a reminder of the life we had shared. I found old photos of us smiling, happy and carefree. Those moments felt like a lifetime ago. One evening, as I was packing up some old boxes in the attic, I came across a box labeled Memories. Inside were mementos from our time together, ticket stubs from concerts and movies, love letters, and small gifts we had exchanged. I sat down, tears streaming down my face as I sifted through the items. Each piece was a reminder of the love we had once shared, a love that now felt like a distant memory. I found myself questioning everything. What went wrong? How did we get here? And most importantly, how would I move forward? The days turned into weeks, and slowly, I began to adjust to my new reality. I started focusing on myself, rediscovering hobbies and interests that had taken a backseat during our marriage. I reconnected with old friends and began exploring new opportunities. It wasn't easy, but I was determined to rebuild my life. One day, while going through some old emails, I found a message from Emily. It was a heartfelt apology, expressing her regret and sorrow for what had happened. She wrote about her own struggles and how she was trying to find her way. It was clear that she was still grappling with the fallout of our divorce. I sat with the email for a while, contemplating whether to respond. Part of me wanted to offer forgiveness, to understand her perspective. But another part of me felt that some things were better left in the past. In the end, I chose not to respond. I realized that while forgiveness was important, it didn't mean I had to relive the pain or open old wounds. I needed to focus on my own healing and growth. As the months passed, I found myself in a better place. The pain of the divorce had faded, replaced by a sense of hope and new beginnings. I was learning to live for myself, to embrace the future with optimism. One day, as I was walking through a park, enjoying the crisp autumn air, I noticed a couple sitting on a bench, holding hands and laughing together. It reminded me of the love Emily and I had once shared. I smiled, feeling a sense of peace. I knew that while the past was gone, the future was full of possibilities. And as I walked on, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. Life had its ups and downs, but it was up to me to shape my own path and find happiness once again. The weeks following the finalization of the divorce were a mix of solitude and self-discovery. I spent much of my time finding a rhythm in my new life, which, while initially disorienting, began to take on a semblance of normalcy. My days became structured around new routines: early morning runs, work, and quiet evenings with books and music. One morning, while jogging through the park, I ran into Sarah, an old friend from college. We hadn't seen each other in years, and our unexpected meeting felt like a stroke of serendipity. "Jason? Is that you?" she called out, her face lighting up with recognition. I stopped, catching my breath. "Sarah. It's been ages. How are you?" We caught up as we walked along the park path, discussing our lives, careers, and, inevitably, the changes that had come my way. Sarah listened intently as I shared the details of my recent separation. "I'm really sorry to hear about everything you've been through," she said sympathetically. "But it sounds like you're finding a way forward. That's something to be proud of." "Thanks," I replied. "It hasn't been easy, but I'm trying to focus on the positives and rebuild." Sarah nodded. "You know, if you ever need a distraction or just someone to hang out with, I'd love to catch up more. It's been too long." Her offer was a welcome one. Over the next few weeks, Sarah and I started meeting regularly. Our friendship rekindled quickly, and her presence provided a much-needed diversion from my routine. We explored new restaurants, visited art galleries, and even took a weekend trip to the coast. Her companionship was refreshing and helped me see the world from a new perspective. One day, while we were having coffee at a local cafe, Sarah broached a topic that had been on her mind. "Jason, have you thought about trying something new? Something that might push you out of your comfort zone?" I sipped my coffee, considering her question. "Like what?" "Well," she began, "you've always been interested in photography, right? Why not take a class? It could be a way to channel your energy and explore a new hobby." The idea intrigued me. I'd always admired people who could capture moments so beautifully through a lens, but I had never seriously pursued it. "You know, that's not a bad idea. I think I might look into it." True to my word, I enrolled in a local photography class. The first few sessions were a whirlwind of technical jargon and unfamiliar settings, but I quickly grew to enjoy the challenge. Capturing images of everyday life, from bustling city streets to serene landscapes, offered a new form of expression and helped me process my emotions in a constructive way. The more I delved into photography, the more I found solace in it. Each click of the shutter became a form of therapy, allowing me to channel my feelings and capture beauty in the world around me. My portfolio began to grow, and I even started sharing some of my work on social media. One afternoon, while editing some photos in my home office, I received a message from Emily. The subject line read, "Can we meet?" My heart skipped a beat as I opened it. "Jason," the email began, "I know it's been a while, but I've been thinking a lot about us and everything that happened. I'd like to meet and talk, if you're open to it. Please let me know." I stared at the screen, my mind racing. The thought of seeing Emily again stirred up a complex mix of emotions. Part of me was curious about what she wanted to discuss, while another part was hesitant to revisit the past. After some consideration, I decided to respond. "Emily, I received your message. I'm open to meeting, but only if it's clear that this conversation will be respectful and focused on closure." She agreed, and we arranged to meet at a park. On the day of our meeting, I felt a mixture of apprehension and determination. When Emily arrived, she looked tired and worn, but there was a genuine sadness in her eyes. "Jason," she began as we sat on a park bench, "thank you for agreeing to meet with me. I wanted to apologize in person. I've been doing a lot of reflecting and I realize now how much I hurt you. I'm truly sorry." I nodded, listening to her words. "Emily, I appreciate your apology. I've moved forward, and while I've forgiven you, it doesn't change what happened or make it easier." "I understand," she said, her voice trembling. "I just wanted to express my regret and let you know that I've been working on myself. I hope you're finding happiness." "I am," I replied honestly. "I'm focusing on myself and building a new life. I've found some new passions and I'm trying to make the most of this new chapter." Emily smiled weakly. "That's good to hear. I hope you continue to find peace and fulfillment." We talked for a while longer, sharing some final thoughts and parting ways with a sense of mutual respect. The encounter wasn't as emotionally charged as I had feared, and it provided a sense of closure. As I walked away from the park, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. The past was behind me, and while it would always be a part of my story, it no longer defined my future. In the months that followed, I continued to embrace my new life. Photography became a significant part of my routine, and I even began exhibiting some of my work at local galleries. The process of creating and sharing my art was incredibly fulfilling, and it offered a new sense of purpose. Sarah remained a close friend, and our outings became a cherished part of my life. Her support and encouragement were invaluable as I navigated this new phase. She often joked about how I was becoming the official photographer for our group, capturing moments that would otherwise have been forgotten. My journey through the aftermath of the divorce had been challenging, but it had also been a period of growth and self-discovery. I had learned to embrace change and to find joy in new experiences. As I looked toward the future, I felt a renewed sense of optimism and excitement. Life had its ups and downs, but I was learning to navigate them with resilience and grace. And as I continued to explore the world through my camera lens, I found solace in knowing that each day brought new opportunities and possibilities. The onset of spring brought a renewed sense of possibility. The days grew longer, the weather warmer, and the world seemed to blossom with opportunities. I had settled into a routine that felt both comforting and invigorating. My photography had become more than just a hobby, it was a passion that connected me to a broader community of artists and enthusiasts. One crisp Saturday morning, I was attending an outdoor art festival where I had been invited to showcase some of my work. The festival was bustling with people, vendors selling handmade crafts, musicians playing lively tunes, and artists displaying their creations. I had set up my booth with a mix of landscape photography and candid shots of city life. Sarah arrived just as the festival was in full swing. She had become a constant presence in my life, always encouraging and supportive. Today, she looked excited, carrying a small bag with what she promised was a surprise. "I have something for you," she said, her eyes twinkling with anticipation. "What's the surprise?" I asked, intrigued. Sarah pulled out a small, intricately designed notebook. "I thought you might want to use this for jotting down your thoughts or ideas. I remember you mentioning that you wanted to capture more of the stories behind your photos." I took the notebook, admiring its craftsmanship. "This is beautiful, Sarah. Thank you. It's exactly what I needed." As the day progressed, I interacted with a variety of people who were interested in my work. Their feedback and admiration for my photographs filled me with a sense of accomplishment. One elderly woman, who seemed deeply moved by a photo of a sunrise over a foggy landscape, shared her own story of a cherished memory tied to that scene. "It's wonderful how a photograph can capture such fleeting moments," she said. "It brings back memories I thought I had lost." Her words resonated with me deeply. I realized that my work had the power to evoke emotions and preserve memories, not just for myself but for others as well. It was a reminder of why I had fallen in love with photography in the first place. As the festival came to a close, Sarah and I decided to take a stroll around the park where the event was held. The air was filled with the scent of blooming flowers, and the sunset cast a warm glow over everything. "I've been thinking," Sarah said as we walked, "about how far you've come since the divorce. You've really embraced this new chapter of your life." "Thanks, Sarah. It hasn't always been easy," I admitted. "But photography has given me a new perspective. It's been a way to heal and express myself." Sarah smiled. "And you're doing an amazing job. I think you're ready for something new. Have you thought about taking your photography to the next level? Maybe even pursuing it professionally?" Her words were both exciting and daunting. I had toyed with the idea of turning my passion into a career, but the thought had always seemed overwhelming. "I've considered it," I said slowly. "But I'm not sure where to start. It feels like a big leap." "Well," Sarah said, "why not start small? You could explore freelance opportunities or collaborate with other artists. You might be surprised where it leads." Her encouragement was just the push I needed. That night, I sat down with the notebook she had given me and began jotting down ideas for expanding my photography. I made a list of potential clients, local businesses that might need photo services, and possible exhibitions. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of activity. I reached out to local businesses, offering to provide them with professional photographs for their marketing materials. I also started working with a few fellow photographers on collaborative projects. Each new venture presented its own set of challenges and rewards, but I embraced them with enthusiasm. One day, while meeting with a gallery owner about a potential exhibition, I was approached by a young woman who seemed eager to share her thoughts on my work. "Excuse me," she said shyly, "I just wanted to say how much I love your photography. I've been following your work for a while now, and it's really inspiring." "Thank you," I said, touched by her words. "It means a lot to hear that." She smiled and handed me a small card. "I'm actually working on a project that focuses on local artists. If you're interested, I'd love to feature you." I was thrilled by the opportunity. The project involved creating a series of profiles on local artists, highlighting their work and personal stories. It was a chance to reach a broader audience and to connect with others who shared my passion for art. As the project progressed, I found myself immersed in a new community of artists and creatives. I attended workshops, participated in art fairs, and even started teaching a photography class at a local community center. The connections I made and the experiences I gained enriched my life in unexpected ways. One evening, as I was preparing for an upcoming exhibition, I received a phone call from Emily. Her voice was tentative, but there was a sincerity in it. "Jason, I wanted to check in and see how you're doing. I've been following your progress and I'm genuinely impressed by what you've accomplished." I was taken aback but welcomed the chance to catch up. "Thank you, Emily. It's been a journey, but I'm finding my way." We talked for a while, sharing updates on our lives and reflecting on the past. The conversation was respectful and devoid of the tension that had marked our last meeting. It was a reminder that, despite everything, we both had grown and moved forward in our own ways. As the months rolled on, I continued to explore new horizons. My photography career began to take shape, and I found fulfillment in both my personal and professional life. The journey from heartbreak to healing had been a challenging one, but it had also been transformative. One evening, as I stood in front of a gallery filled with my own photographs, I felt a profound sense of accomplishment. The images on the walls were more than just pictures, they were a testament to my resilience and growth. Each photograph represented a moment of clarity, a snapshot of the beauty I had learned to see in the world. Sarah stood beside me, her support unwavering. "You've come a long way, Jason. I'm proud of you." "Thank you, Sarah," I said, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. "I couldn't have done it without you." As I looked around the gallery, I realized that my journey was far from over. Life was a series of chapters, each with its own challenges and triumphs. I had learned to embrace change, to find joy in new experiences, and to appreciate the beauty in both the mundane and the extraordinary. With each passing day, I felt more connected to myself and to the world around me. And as I continued to explore new horizons, I carried with me the lessons and memories that had shaped my path. The future was filled with endless possibilities, and I was ready to embrace whatever came next with an open heart and a hopeful spirit.